All right, everyone, we are here with War 6 against ASR. Today I will be taking in Sentinel, Claire, and Mr. Negative finally for the first time this season. I will have Path 8 in both sections, and I am actually on boss duty. So I made a couple mistakes with Claire this war. I actually didn't think about it for section 1, but definitely for section 2 when I use her. I probably should have stayed in Plagued, which is Curse, Curse of Plague, which is Poison, just so that I had Power Drain available for these matchups. So this first one is this Airwalker here, and as I'm saying that, obviously it's because of the return policy on the node. If I do happen to trigger it too much too often, I don't want him getting pushed to SB3 and then me having an oh shit moment. So we luck out with this Airwalker, but the fight later against Nimrod gets a little interesting. So Airwalker here, really I'm just trying to push to SB2 and get that buff, or the buff immunity up. I'm just trying to wear him down. I end up staying in Hellfire, and I end up not ending combos with a medium or a light, so that I don't either A, place an incinerate and ramp up the high ground charges, or B, switch curses. So getting into Hellfire here, we are now in it. So here I am doing 4 combos, backing off. It's always important with every one of Airwalker's special attacks that you block hit every last hit, so that you don't end up with extra Dark Tide and therefore end up with a Dark Tide passive. The SB2 is actually very easy to outrange if you're already all the way backed up on the screen, and a miss counts. So you have to block the hit, but as you can tell, that went pretty smooth. And then that was it for section 1. We're right into section 2. I have this Doctor Strange here on the first node of Path 8. I batted around. I went back and forth in my own head as to whether I should APB and try to get 10 hits in right before converting light to dark with an evade counter, and I just decided against it. I thought it would be safer just to not really worry about that, because so many different things can happen that would prevent me from removing the high ground charge, such as taking one single hit, or his power bar just not being in the best position for me to immediately evade counter with 0 downtime between the next high ground charge. So I go in here, parry heavy. One nice little thing, we ended up building too much light there, so we're going to have to throw another SB1. Not a big deal, since my Mr. Negative is duped and rank 4. We're doing a great bit of damage anytime he tries to counter spell the buff that is on me. And then we're building some light energy, so that's going to help with the block damage from the high ground charges. So plus we have this block proficiency passive from throwing SB1s. So you can play this fight really slow, come out of it with an easy win. I believe there's a special 2 that comes up, and I try to dex the whole thing like an idiot, but I had an invulnerability boost on, so not a big deal at all. Here it is, boom. But really I was just focused on, and then we happened to end up with more than 10 dark energy, so that was perfect actually, but he was pretty much done anyways. So it's a sloppy Mr. Negative fight, but it's typically like taking a Mojo boss. You got to go SB1 to SB2 if you're not going to try to evade counter outside of high ground. Now this Nimrod, I had actually thought about it well before I took him that I was going to stay in Plagued, so that I could power drain him on top of using buff immunity to control his power gain. When it came fight time, and after that Doctor Strange fight, I actually completely forgot about that and stayed in Blood, did some parry heavies to build power, through the SB2 so that we could get the buff immunity up right away to cut his power gain from the Rich Get Richer. And then while that's up, I switch stances to Hellfire. And you're going to see why that was probably a bad idea. So there's the first buff immunity while we're in Blood. Now we're going to go ahead and And this didn't work out where buff immunity... Oh, yes it did, sorry. So no buffs there, so we're good. Now we're going to go ahead and switch. And I could have parry heavied there to build some power before getting into SB2. We got the last hit of that, no big deal. Now here's where it's going to get interesting, okay? Now I want to throw this, and I want to immediately start baiting SB2, but I do this kind of cheeky thing here at the start, and he got me, and that pushed him to SB3. Now, I'm thinking, oh crap, but he didn't throw it, so I'm going to go ahead and change the blood. Thinking, oh crap, oh good, he threw it. So now we can go ahead and go into Curse of Poison, and we power drain him. So for whatever reason, the AI chose to spare me, because that would have been the end of it. And luckily I kept my composure and just played along and switched to blood, or to poison, and power drained him. So very, very scary. I'm happy I lived and learned from that fight instead of died and learned. After that, Longshot I figured was going to be cake, because how badly could I screw up another fight after doing that? It kind of makes you a little more alert. So Longshot here, game plan, I was actually going to parry heavy. Normally I've taken Mojo on this, and I don't parry heavy, so don't give myself a buff and the anti-life eat it up. So I'm going to parry heavy a couple times, because kinetic transference is going to push into SB1 pretty quickly. And then after the 2 times, I'm going to go ahead and try and bait out SB1, and I did not intend for that blocked hit. It was meant to be a parry, but whatever. It's still going to keep this rotation, just gives him a little more power, and luckily he was really willing to throw that. Now I'm going to evade counter here, because we have a good number of charges to bank. And now we're going to do it again. Push him to SB1. Wait out this indestructible timer while we're baiting out SB1, convert, and drop into SB2. And then from here, I can willingly just block hits, parry, and it will power drain him. So I can keep him from getting a single bar of power, and boom, down he goes, 45 seconds. So felt really good to get Mr. Negative back in a war. All right, and then the boss fight. ASR put a Weapon X for our battle group, which is a big no-no versus New Nation, but whatever. Our go-to for New Nation is Sentinel. Why? Because when you build analysis charges, not only does he start placing some crazy long incinerate debuffs, but he also builds crit resistance. So on top of being bleed immune, he's not going to take very much damage from Weapon X hitting him. So it's kind of a safety net. This fight does take a little bit longer than maybe a Warlock, but it is a suicide fight, and it's a pretty safe fight. So some perspective, I took this the next morning. Actually, it was more afternoon at this point, 2 hours left in war, and we were winning 6-3 with a bunch of fights left. So it was kind of a high-pressure situation. This is the last fight for BG2. We haven't died. Game plan here, hit into his block as usual, building up analysis charges. So we're baiting him to block so that we can hit him. And then once we get close to analysis, I decided to go ahead and try and block to bait out heavies, and I hoped he'd get me into analysis before, and I should have done one more hit there, but it's not a big deal. He ends up going berserk after this combo. Another hit right there probably would have put me in analysis. So now we're going to wait out the unstoppable. We're going to block as we dodge to bait out these heavies for easy openings. And I'm not going to be overly aggressive. I'm going to use the fact that I have so much space to let him get out of his berserk before we go. And now that he's out, we're going to go back into him aggressively. So these SB2s, now that we're at complete analysis, those incinerate debuffs last a whole lot longer. So they do a whole bunch of damage and offset the healing, especially since his healings comes from the actual hits and not debuffs. So we can't counter those. And I believe it takes about 3, maybe 4. I think it was the beginning of the 4th SB2 to take him down. So he's only gone berserk once. He's going to go here a second time. And I am running suicide, so all the damage you're seeing is just block damage and recoil. There's that heavy we're baiting out. Just staying calm. Sentinel looks like he's late in dashing back, but the window in which he's actually dashing back is a lot larger than it seems. So it makes it pretty smooth and easy. Here is the 3rd SB2. So yeah, another high pressure boss situation where things could go south if I lose this. We could end up tying and maybe losing on time, or just end up dying more than them. But this high pressure situation is pretty similar to any fight that I take, so it just comes with the competition. He's almost there, out of Berserk. We're gonna go into third round of Berserk here, but I don't think he's gonna make it. I believe we tag him right here. Okay, and now he's actually gonna go back into Berserk. We're gonna wait out the Unstoppable. He's almost gone. Next combo into SB2 is going to do it. There's the opening. And here we go, combo SB2. Oh, nope, sorry. Not quite there. He's out of Berserk though, so now we're gonna block bait heavies, and boom, down he goes. So, clutched it, still haven't died to a Weapon X with Sentinel. So, knew when I saw Weapon X he'd be my responsibility. All right, so as I said, my BG got the donut, so that's our second one in a row, which is great. It's really helping out the Alliance. And then as a whole, we only died 3 to their 6, so we pulled off the win. This right here is the range we need to be in to beat top tier competition in the season. If we have any hope of placing top 3, this is where we're going to keep needing to finish. So it's definitely a good war for New Nation. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you at the next one.